the art and science of healing. I'm going to be introducing you to the formula for healing so that when you apply this to your life, you will be able to experience almost immediate results in your own healing journey, that you can then be a beacon of light and hope for those that you are called to serve and to help and to bless. Are you seeking effective ways to overcome emotional pain, release mental blocks, and restore a sense of wholeness and well-being to your life? Perhaps you feel a call in your heart to serve others, to be their role model, their coach, their helper, their guide, their friend, so that you can help them to heal, so that they feel better inside of themselves and about who they are. If so, I do not believe that you're here by accident. I believe that you were sent. And it is my hope that in today's teaching, I will be able to answer some of your questions and perhaps even answer some of your prayers. So my friends, you are safe here. I have worked with people from all walks of life, each one having a unique challenge or trauma or ailment that they're trying to heal or fix or solve. But do you know what the best part is? That the healing formula works the same for all of us, including myself, because I do my best to practice what I teach. During this teaching, this is going to be an opportunity for you to really, really receive. So I encourage you to settle in, perhaps grab a notebook so you can take some notes. Feel free to pause at any time that you need to through this so that you can just take it all in and let it not just come into your mind, but sink deeply into your heart so that you can experience what true and lasting healing is all about for you. Let's dive in. You may be asking yourself, what do I mean by art and science when I say that healing is both an art and a science? When myself or anyone refers to the art and science of a topic, they are emphasizing that the subject encompasses both the creative and systematic elements. So the science aspect implies that there are principles and theories and methodologies that can be studied, measured, and applied consistently. It involves logical reasoning, empirical evidence, and often follows a structured approach. On the other hand, the art aspects highlight the intuitive, experiential, and creative components that cannot fully be captured by rules or formulas. It involves personal experience, subjective judgment, and often relies on skills honed through practice and experience. By combining art and science, the phrase suggests that a mastery of both topics requires an understanding of its foundational principles. So, for example, you can even look at the art and science as it relates to cooking. So, while cooking involves precise measurements, chemical reactions, which is science, it also allows for personal flair and flavor and creativity and adaptation to taste, which is more artistic, right? So in essence, this just means that healing is multifaceted. There's not one direct approach, but we actually can combine the approaches of art and science in order to have a whole and holistic approach to healing that allows us to tackle every single problem, body, mind, spirit, knowing that the formula, the protocol to applying healing to one's difficulties is the same. So the good news about this as well is it's trustworthy, right? Since it has a scientific backing, you can try it on and it can prove itself to you in your life. And so I want you to look out for the proof of these teachings. But the way that you can look out for proof of these teachings is to be able to apply it to yourself correctly. So for me, when I look out into the world and I'm trying to find a healing modality that is helpful to heal on every level of your being, the majority of healing modalities, religious therapies, good intention healers, and spiritual practices, they have really good intentions and can be helpful. But a lot of the time, they are not truly helpful because they do not combine both the art and the science, both the inspired aspects as well as the scientifically proven aspects of healing. Finding something that is going to bring both sides of the equation into one so that you finally can have lasting and true healing. Like, I think that this is what we want, right? Like, if this is what you want, lasting, true healing that actually transforms, corrects, and brings you into a state of happiness, healed, whole happiness and health, this is what you want. Say yes below. I want this too. And so we're in this together. Put yes below for me. So art, let's see. We're going to be going through the teaching in A Course in Miracles, and we're going to see if it follows the art process. But the art is forgiveness, guidance, communication, faith, creativity, inspiration, service to others. It's very artistic. It's creative. It flows in us and through us. Okay. Whereas science is a little bit more rigid and direct. It's goal oriented. It's theory, it's intellectual, it's direct, it's practice, repetition, experiential. This allows me to transition into just how, right? How do we take art and science and bring them into healing? How? So when I look to the how, I have found the how answered in something like A Course in Miracles. So I am a huge advocate, teacher, student of A Course in Miracles. And in my experience, the A Course in Miracles says directly in it that healing is an art because it depends on inspiration. So inspiration in this sense is being in spirit, inspired. So when you're inspired, you're in the spirit, and it is the spirit that heals. It's not going to be our ego that heals. It's not going to be the problem or anything on the same level of the problem that heals. Got to be higher wisdom, higher order. Inspiration, spirit is what heals. In A Course in Miracles, in the art text, it says that healing is an art because it comes from inspiration. But in A Course in Miracles as well, it also says that healing is a science. Healing is a science because it obeys the laws of God, whose laws are true. Okay, so the laws of God in A Course in Miracles only give, they only bless, they only extend because one who's embodied the law of God knows that receiving is an effect of giving. So we don't even think about receiving. We don't think about getting. We just think about giving through inspired action. And when we bring the inspiration into our own mind, allow the inspiration to wiggle things out in our mind, what happens is we become inspired into action. We get inspired to be in accord with the laws of God. And when we're in accord with the laws of God, they are trustworthy because they are true. And this is back to the fact that it can be proven. So we need to try it on. We need to practice it. That's also what makes it a science, is that you need faith, which is in the realm of art, in order to trust what it says. But then you need science, which is to trying to prove what it says. And you can try and prove what it says by applying it to yourself. Okay. Proof doesn't always show up the way that you expect it to. That proof is going to show up in the way you need it to. So I invite you to keep an open mind when you're looking for the proof that these lessons are working for you, for proof that these teachings are working for you, for proof that this formula is going to work for you. You need to have faith and open-mindedness for the conviction and the answers and the certainty to come in the way that you need it and not in a way that you think it's supposed to be. So let go of those expectations and those judgments, my brother and sister friends, and just be open to allowing yourself to be shown that it's working in you and it's working through you. And that confirmation from others, from your universe, from your world is going to help raise your faith even higher so that you can integrate these teachings and tools even better and be more and more healed and happy every day and in every way. So if this sounds good to you, I want to put a little bow on this art and science conversation so that we can dive into the formula for healing and really just dive straight into applying this to your life. Okay. So we have healing covered for our right brained beautiful souls, and we have healing covered for our left brain beautiful souls. And we are coming into accord with both inside of ourselves. You ready? Now is the time to deep dive, and where I really encourage you take some notes if you are so inspired. I have opened to the Manual for Teachers in the A Course in Miracles Sparkly Edition. At the very top, it has a single sentence that is outside this 3-part formula. And this single sentence is very important for us to understand. It says this: healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. Healing is impossible without this. Healing is impossible without this. So we're being told at the top of the section, under how is healing accomplished? The section is called How is Healing Accomplished? It says that healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. We cannot heal without this. So this leads into our first step in the formula, which is the perceived purpose of sickness. Right off the bat, we're being told that we have given a purpose to sickness. What is this sickness for me? Whether it's a physical sickness, a mental upset, an emotional anguish, difficulty, lack, doubt, fear, sin, shame, guilt, whatever it is you're dealing with, we need to ask ourselves, What is this sickness for me? What is the purpose that this sickness holds for me? We are taught in the A Course in Miracles that there's always a hidden belief, a hidden conclusion, a hidden meaning that we have placed on someone or something in relation to sickness that is the true cause of our sickness. So I want to give you an example. I have, since the time I was really, really young, I've struggled with binge eating to the point where I would call it a severe addiction. I felt like it had control over me and I had no control and I didn't know how to stop myself from doing this. It was a sincere problem that was ruling my life for a very long time. I thought that my problem was the binge eating. So I'm trying to stop binge eating for years and years and years and years and years. It wasn't until I started to do mind training through the A Course in Miracles specifically, where I was able to see that I had a hidden purpose underneath my eating. And that purpose was to stuff down my emotions. It literally was me stuffing down my emotions so that I didn't have to feel. It was so that I didn't have to feel. And if I didn't have to feel, I didn't have to heal, right? And so the binge eating became a way of me trying to solve my problems, but it was not the problem. So I had to look underneath. And what was really underneath was this fear of failing. What was underneath was the purpose was trying to protect myself from the emotions that I had that I felt were going to be the cause of me failing in life. So my purpose was to try to protect me from my own self. Okay. It was my way to keep distance between myself and what was really hurting me emotionally. So, fear of failure and trying to protect myself were the purposes for my binge eating. I was using it to try and help myself, quite frankly. It was a way for me to try and make myself feel better, not realizing that it made me feel 10 billion times worse, which I only realized after a binge, and that it didn't actually solve my problems or fix my problems at all. It just compounded my problems. But when you don't know what you're doing, you do the best you can to have that momentary relief. That momentary high after eating was the relief that I thought that I needed, when really the relief that I needed was from my own thinking and believing that that was going to solve my problems in some way and that my problem was something that I couldn't deal with on my own. When I became empowered with true protection, which is in the inspired voice, in the spirit, and that is actually the spirit that's going to heal me, and that the spirit says that it's safe for me to feel my emotions. The spirit says that it's safe for me to be aware of what I'm thinking. It is safe for me to uncover what's in my mind. That safety and that protection that's in my inner world is what enabled me to really look at what needed to be looked at, forgive what needed to be forgiven, so that the upper level of the binge eating could fall away because I've uprooted what was holding it underneath. So this teaching is saying there is a purpose that sickness has for you. And sometimes the purpose is to be right. Sometimes the purpose is to be loved. Sometimes the purpose is to be appreciated, to be validated, to be accepted. Sometimes the purpose is to get something somewhere in some way. So the first step in healing, the formula, my friends, is to discover what the perceived purpose of sickness is for you. So ask, what is the perceived purpose of sickness for me? Okay. And the reason why this is so important is because we are being told that sickness is a decision. It is a decision. You might think that that's not true because who wants to be sick? Like, who wants to be unhealthy and unhappy? Like, how could that be a decision? I don't want this. But like I just said, it is a subconscious decision, something that happened way in the past that is now kind of eating at your insides. And so what we need to do is realize that sickness is a decision, but also healing is a decision. Heaven is a decision. And we must make this new decision. We want to decide for healing instead of sickness. But first, we must discover why we've decided for sickness. What is this for? What is the purpose? And I'm telling you, if you look at discover what the purpose is, if you discover what it's for you, that is like the biggest step in the healing. If you see that, we're going to get to the next steps. Oh my God. Like if you get that, that is so huge. It is so huge. And prior to discovering what the purpose is on our sickness, a lot of the time we have a lot of fear about what could potentially happen if we uncover what we're actually thinking and what we're actually feeling. Like we get terrified. And a lot of us will project that fear onto God. Our religious communities, seem to support that a lot, that we feel like we might be punished by God for the sins we've made. But it's very clear in A Course in Miracles that there are no sins. Okay. Sin is impossible in the eyes of God because sin means that there is no correction for it. We need to see that we've made mistakes. We have made errors, and mistakes have correction, and error has correction. So we are in favor of the correction. We want and need the correction. So we must know that the correction comes through the inspired voice, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit that has been given us in our conception to help us to heal our minds, to get in touch with the purpose and what the sickness is for, so that it can be overturned and changed. But we can't have our mind be changed until we look at what we're actually thinking. So again, we're in this phase of really looking at our thoughts, but don't be distracted by like the fear of thinking that you're going to be punished for this or condemned for this or blamed for this by anyone else, including God. We are learning in A Course in Miracles that God is an all loving God without opposite. An unconditionally loving God can't all of a sudden turn to hate, and it can't turn to punishment, and it can't turn to ridicule. It can't change. Okay. That which is unchanging doesn't change. So we're relying on faith that the power that is greater than ourselves is only loving, unconditionally loving. And when we're opening up the cavity of our subconscious mind that has the conclusions and the beliefs and the purpose for sickness in there, we're looking with the light, we're looking with the Spirit, we're looking with the love. And it is so that it can be uprooted and we can be healed. We're not looking at it to feel shame. We're not looking at it to feel blame. We're not looking at it to feel like we're going to have a negative repercussion. The effect of looking is healing. The effect of feeling is healing. And we want healing. That's what we're here for. So I'm just saying all this so that we don't get distracted with anything other than knowing we want to look at the purpose and we want to look at what the purpose for sickness holds for us. And so the last thought in the section of the perceived purpose of sickness is that we will heal if we know we are responsible for our thoughts. So we are responsible for our thoughts. And if we're responsible for our thoughts, that means that we can change our thoughts. It means we have the power to change our thoughts. So just remember this when you're looking at the purpose and what the sickness is for you, it's just thoughts, and you're responsible for those thoughts. And the responsibility means that you have the power to change them. Okay. So this leads into the next step of how to actually change them. This is the big one. Ready? So the second part in this formula for healing is the shift in perception. So now in the first step, we've looked at how our mind currently is. These are the beliefs, these are the thoughts, these are the conclusions that I've made. This is what the purpose and what I think the sickness is for me. What am I protecting? What am I believing in this? When you do that contemplation and exploration and you get it all out, now we have something to work with. Now we have something to change, don't we? We have actually shined light on our deepest, darkest thoughts, and we're ready to have them transformed. So it's time for a shift in perception. And this shift in perception, we are told here, happens in the exact proportion in which the valuelessness of sickness is recognized. This is a very important line, that we will heal in the exact proportion in which we see that the valueless of sickness is recognized. Valuelessness. Okay. We need to see the valuelessness of sickness. We are then told, one need but say, there is no gain to me at all in this, and he is healed. But to say this, one must first recognize certain facts. So we're going to get to the facts that we must recognize. But the point is that we are being led to that moment of immediate healing. Immediate healing. Okay, there's no time in this. It happens in the now moment. Healing doesn't happen in the past. Healing doesn't happen in the future. Healing happens right here, right now. So when we look at what the purpose of sickness is, and we could render the purpose useless, valueless, and really say, like, there is no gain to me at all in this. There's nothing for me to get out of this. Nothing for me to get. I have no use for this anymore. When we could say these things and really, really mean it, there's nothing that cannot be healed at once. At once, there's nothing that can not be healed at once. But there are a few facts that we need to know and take into consideration before that conclusion is made that, like, this is useless to me and I'm healed and I can stand up and walk home. So what are the first certain facts that we need to know in order for us to accept the idea that there's no gain to me at all in this and I can be healed? Well, the first fact rather is that decisions are of the mind, not of the body. Decisions are of the mind and not of the body. And therefore, it is not the body that we are trying to fix or heal. It is the mind. Okay, so I've alluded to this when I was talking about the experience that I had in healing myself of binge eating addiction. What it says here is that sickness is but a faulty problem solving approach. It is a decision. So that's what I was saying, is that I was thinking that binge eating is helping me, right? I was thinking that binge eating is it's preventing me from feeling the deep dark feelings that I don't want to feel. This is protection to me. It's a faulty problem solving approach. I'm trying to solve my problem in my own way and in the wrong way, but that is a decision. So when we lay down that decision to try and solve our problems that way, we become open to solving problems in the way that will actually solve it. That's also where we're leaning into now. So we no longer want to see that the body is the cause of anything. The mind is the cause of everything. So when we shift our perception, the body is going to shift because it's an effect. So we're working on changing our thoughts so that our effects can change, whether it's emotional effects, physical effects, relational effects, all of it. So we are being told again, this may sound like we're repeating ourselves, but this is really important to see. The acceptance of sickness is a decision of the mind for a purpose for which it would use the body. And this is the basis of healing. So, in other words, when a patient decides that he is healed, so it is. It is a decision of the mind. But this also means that we must eradicate any thoughts of doubt or uncertainty that are creeping up from the ego that are preventing us from that full on decision for healing. Okay. So we are asked a question here that kind of helps us to unlock this. The question is, who is the physician? Who is the physician? Only the mind of the patient himself. The outcome is what he decides that it is. So we can't heal anyone. We can help others, inspire others, empower others to heal themselves. And we heal ourselves through a decision, through a change of mind. And we're told here again that we, as the patient, he's saying here, a patient can merely rise up without any physical aid from anyone at all and say, I have no use for this. And when he's saying that, when we say this, that there's nothing that cannot be healed at once. So notice that it's kind of like repeating itself. You can say, I have no use for this. I have no gain to me at all in this. This is valueless to me. This is meaningless to me. These are all different ways of saying the same thing, of you choosing with power to deny the thought of sickness and to side with the thought of healing. So what is the prerequisite for this shift in perception? What is the prerequisite? The prerequisite is to recognize that sickness is of the mind, which we've already talked about, and that it has nothing to do with the body. But it's also to recognize that there is no cost to this healing. Like there's no loss to this healing. You're not going to lose anything. What we lose is the things that caused us pain. We lose the beliefs in ourselves that are limiting. We lose the beliefs in ourselves that are aligned with lack and low self-image and low self-esteem and panic and anxiety. Like we lose the negative effects when we shift our perception. So there's no cost and there's no loss. Okay. So when we place the responsibility to ourselves for changing our mind, it also allows us to see a few things: that the world does nothing to us and that we do nothing to the world. And in that, it's an insignificance of the body. So what's happening is when we focus on healing, what matters the most is our thoughts and our spirit, which is whole and healed as it was created to be. And so when we heal our mind and shift our perception from what is temporary, the body, to what is eternal, the soul, and we shift our mind from what is temporary, fear, to what is eternal, love. And when we shift our mind from the purpose the sickness had to the purpose that healing has, that is how we heal on all levels of our being. Is from changing our mind from what we previously believed was real to what is actually real. So we have to know that as a soul, the world does nothing to us. And that's what our dear friend Jesus demonstrated, okay? And in the sense that he could be defenseless despite all of the projections upon him because he knew that he had a greater purpose. His greater purpose was to prove that death is not real, that he can resurrect from the dead, which means that eternal life is real. So he knew what he was doing it for and could walk all the way through the end defenseless and at peace. So we are asked to do the same thing under far less dire circumstances. And we are asked to hold the purpose of healing. Like, what are we doing this for? So that we can walk ourselves through the world and realize the world doesn't do anything to us. We don't do anything to the world. There's an insignificance of the body because there is a significance on the soul. There's a significance on the spirit, the inspired art part of this sequence. And then the final outcome in that is that there is a remembrance of God. There is a remembrance of the truth. There is a remembrance of the love that you are, that you so deeply are. And so the ultimate uprooting of the beliefs that maintain the sickness is going to lead you to a remembrance of what is true beyond this world, beyond form. And what is true is God of love. What is true is you who are made as love. And in the presence of whole and complete love, fear, pain, sickness is impossible. So this is where true healing can happen. Okay, this is how miracles can happen. Because if healing has purpose, it is here. If sickness has no purpose, it is gone. So this is the steps. And so you guys, this is the end of the second part of the formula, and we're leading into the third part of the formula, which ties in the science aspects of things. And then we're going to tie this all in a bow so that it makes final sense in the end. But the third part here, the third part of the formula is the function of the teacher of God. Like, what? It is already being assumed that we are going to heal and we're going to help others to heal. It is assumed that we're going to accept that we are saved and we're going to help others to be saved. This is just assumed because when you learn, you can't not teach. And when you receive, you can't not give. So the true healing that's happening here is learning how your mind works, learning what purpose sickness has for you, learning how to let that go to be replaced by the purpose healing has for you so that you can accept the healing as it is. This is what is happening. And once you accept healing as it is, guess what? You're restored to the love that you are, and you can't help but allow the love to extend to you and through you to help others, to serve others. But what is being reminded here is that we can't change the patient's mind because remember, the therapist is in the mind of the patient itself. So it's not our job to heal them or fix them. If someone is already wanting to heal, is ready to heal, is willing to put in the work to heal, we just need to celebrate with them. We literally need to celebrate with them because they have their inner teacher, like we have ours. So we can have trust in their inner teacher, like we have in ours. We can communicate to the inner teacher in them through the inner teacher in us. And so we can know that if someone's wanting to heal, all we need to do is rejoice with them, be happy, celebrate with them. I'm high-fiving you. I'm celebrating you if you want to be healed, right? Like, oh my gosh, supporting you, right? But if someone does still has so much strength in the body, like so much support that they think that the body offers them, instead of realizing that all support and strength is of the mind and of the soul. And if they still like really, really struggle in their sickness and they find it difficult to accept responsibility for their sickness, well, then God's teacher has more of a specific function. And so the more of the specific function is to demonstrate to them that to you, demonstrate to them what is real to you in them. So is their sickness real to you? Is their upset and misery real to you? Or is them as a soul, as a child of God, real about them to you? Is the fact that they can heal through their faith and through their constant decision to change their mind and change the purpose in their mind. If we have faith that they can heal, if we have faith that they are beyond their body, that is what is going to contribute to their healing, is how we see them and how we think about them. That's why our healing is so important first. So to these people, the separation is quite real. So to just use words and analogies isn't necessarily going to make the difference. The difference is our demonstration that we are the beacon of light. We are the beacon of hope, and they see it in us. So it says here, to them, God's teachers come to represent another choice, which they had forgotten. The simple presence of a teacher of God is a reminder that their thoughts ask for the right to question what the patient has accepted as true. So we as God's teachers stand for the alternative. We stand for another way. We literally stand for another way. And we demonstrate that they have the ability and the power and the way to change their mind. That's what we celebrate in them, that they can change their mind. And when they change their mind, they'll heal on all levels of their being. But learning how to change your mind truly and not just like apply concepts to your already concepts in your mind means you got to go through this protocol step by step. Our job then is not to try to heal the sick, but it's to remind them of the remedy. And the remedy we're being told is in the spirit. The remedy we are being told is in the spirit that shows us what the purpose of sickness is, and then in the spirit that shows us what the purpose of healing is, so that we can decide for healing instead of purpose. Right? That's what this is all about. So the last few things here are telling us that the function of God's teacher, of the helper of humanity for which we are, is to see no will as separate from their own and not theirs as separate from God's. That's ultimately our job, is to see my brother as myself, to see my sister as myself, to see that your will is the same as my will, which is the same as God's will. And if God's will, we are told in A Course in Miracles, is perfect happiness, that would mean that your will is perfect happiness and my will is perfect happiness. So I want to be happy myself by changing my mind. And I want to help offer happiness to you to remind you that you can change your mind. And this is ultimately how we will remember God and truth together, is by seeing the love in one another, helping and healing and reminding and inspiring and teaching and blessing one another. As you give, you receive. Here are the laws of God. Okay. This is why even Jesus in the Bible would say the most important teachings are to love your neighbor as yourself, to love your enemy, to give as you are to receive. In the course, we're told we're also teaching as we've learned. So if you've learned and you've realized that the cause of your problems and your sickness is in your mind and that you can change your mind, you become a beacon of hope for all others who need help and healing. What a blessing. What a blessing it is to be of service to others, right? But it starts right here with us. Okay. So let's do a little conclusion on here so we can remember the formula for healing. But notice how simple it is. The ego wants to complicate it. The ego wants to make it more difficult than it really is. It's really not as difficult as we make it out to be. It really starts, one, the perceived purpose of sickness. What am I getting out of this? What is the value in this sickness for me right now? What is its purpose? What is it for me? Okay, so we need to look at the perceived purpose of sickness, the beliefs that go underneath what's the problem on top of the surface. Okay. And then number two, it's the shift in perception. So we must render the purpose of sickness useless. This is useless to me. I'm going to look at my purpose with all the light on it so that I can see how useless this is. There is no gain to me at all in this. No gain to me at all in this. And if we can say that with conviction and mean it, there's nothing that will not be healed at once. That's where the change of mind happens, through your decision to not have any use for this purpose of sickness, but to put all of your use in the purpose of healing, art and science, the purpose of healing. And you just have to commit to it. All the other details are going to come out underneath. Okay. So now that we've changed our mind to think with love and we've realized that the problem and how we were trying to solve the problem is faulty and we don't want to do that anymore, it's useless. We're choosing the healing, we're choosing the answer. What happens is the final outcome that shows us that there's no purpose for sickness. There's no answer in the world. The answer is in my mind. And as I receive the answer in my mind, which is that I am love, I am made by love, I'm perfectly protected and at peace. There is nothing wrong with me. I'm whole and I'm healed. And this is a fact of my reality as God created me to be now and forever. That is how we heal. It is the decision for what is true about us instead of a decision for what is not. And then we are restored to being what we are as the love and the light that we are, and we can be a demonstration of the alternative for others. We can be the example of what others can do for the healing of their own mind. We don't have to preach it to them. We don't have to force them into it. We literally just have to demonstrate it. Just demonstrate it. When people are ready to heal, they will ask. Asking is sacred. Okay, they will ask you for help. Asking is sacred. And when they ask, it's an opportunity for both of you to come together in going through this protocol together in whatever way the spirit directs. So the final thing here, the one will we share is to heal and be happy, my friends, to heal and to be happy. I join you in this will. All of our healing is in this will. So much gratitude is knowing that we share in this will. So thank you, my friends, for being here to the end, because that must mean that you're really willing to do the work to heal. You're willing to take the time to listen and be still, to absorb the teaching that you need to be on your heart and on your mind to really support you in your time of inner exploration. So you can sit with your inner teacher and let your mind be changed so that all the effects can change along with it. So, my friends, I'm so grateful that you've joined me for this teaching today. If this message has resonated with you, do not forget to like and subscribe and to share this video with anyone else that you feel may benefit. Together, we really are stepping into a life of true healing that is guided by the art and the science of love. And so, thank you so much for being the demonstration and the beacon of light for so many. If you have any more questions about this, please ask them below. I'm starting to answer one question a week every Friday in my newsletter, and I would love to have you be a part of that inner circle too. All links for everything I do to help serve you and make the world a better place is in the captions below. So, my friend, have a blessed and beautiful day, and I will definitely see you in the next video.